So this video is for all homeschooling families. I'll be going to detail about the laws and regulation of each province and territory in Canada. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer and I am not a homeschooling law expert. I'm just a mom who did a lot of research on this topic so I can better understand it and make a video and help other homeschooling families. But things change with any types of laws, especially homeschooling laws, because the homeschooling community is growing rapidly all over Canada. So if I missed something or if I made a mistake, I just wanted to remind you to take what you learned in this video and always do your own research, because laws are changing, regulations are always changing, and I just want to make sure you have the right and correct information. So in Canada, we have 10 provinces and 3 territories. And all of the provinces and territories have different regulations and laws. Some are more strict and others are more easygoing and you have more freedom to do what you want. So I got most of my information from the Canadian Homeschooler blog, which I'll link down in the description. It's a great blog and it goes through all of the laws and regulation of every province if you want to check that out. And also I would link as many helpful tips for each province and territory down in the description. So if you are in a certain province and you want more information, check down in the description for more accurate information. Okay, let's start with beautiful British Columbia. And so in BC, you have to register your child on or before September 30th to homeschool. Where you register in BC depends on your goals for your homeschooling. The options that you have are full autonomy, public school, independent schools. For example, if you have religious beliefs or traditions you want to teach and instill in your child, you wouldn't register under the public school. You would register either under an independent school or under full autonomy. Another example is if your homeschooling is just temporary and you're just testing the waters to see if it works for your family, then it's recommended to register under a public school so you can easily go back to a public school if you need it. Check out the BC Home Educators Association website. That's a mouthful. I linked that website if you live in BC down in the description to get more detailed information on what you need to do to homeschool. The other thing is in BC, if you want to pull your child out anytime throughout the year, you can. You just have to send a letter of notification to your child's school. They can update your child's status as a registered homeschooler. In Alberta, which is where I am, homeschool is very well supported and it's funded. Based on my research, Alberta is the only province that you actually get money from the government to help you home educate your children. So to get this funding in Alberta, your child or children have to be registered under a school board and accepted before September 30th. So in Alberta, parents have 2 options. They can homeschool supervised under a school board where you get funding, or you can homeschool under unsupervised and you won't be eligible for funding. You just have to notify the government that you're home educating. But other than that, you can do whatever you want. No one follows up with you. So if you choose the supervised route in Alberta, even though it's supervised, it's still pretty lenient. You do have to create a learning plan and show how you're going to teach the core subjects and which curriculums and resources you're going to use. Supervised route, you get a facilitator which you meet with twice a year. So in that meeting, the facilitator will talk to you as the parent to see how your homeschool is going, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. Also, the facilitator talks to the child to ask them what they're learning, what they're excited to learn. Also, they sometimes ask the child to show some of their work. So they just want to see progression and the child is progressing. If you don't like your facilitator, you can always talk to your board and switch them, which I've heard some moms do that as well. So once you're under a school board, you have other options besides full home education. The other option you have is a blended home education option. So the blended home education options includes your child going to school 2 days a week or your child doing online schooling without board. And not all boards in Alberta offer this. Only some boards offer the blended home education. So you have to look into that. So with the blended home education option, you have a teacher that teaches the subject. Your child goes to school 2 days a week, or if they do online schooling for a couple days, they're doing those schooling, and the teacher actually teaches the child the subject. So parents are more like support, and they help their child with the work at home, like once they're done their class. So because there's a teacher there choosing the curriculum, the books, the resources, then you don't get the funding with this option, the blended home ed option, and the funding goes to the school board that you choose. All the information and everything I just talked about is when you take the supervised route through a school board. Now, the second option you have is the unsupervised route. So with unsupervised, if you choose that option, you get no funding from the government. All you have to do is notify the government that you'll be homeschooling, and that's it. You can do whatever you want. There's no facilitator, no meetings, no one following up with you. So that's that. So in Alberta, you can pull out your child anytime to homeschool. And if you pull them out after September 30th, you wouldn't be eligible for funding or choosing a school board. So you'll be going the unsupervised route until the next year, which if you choose to go the supervised route through a school board, you just have to apply before September 30th, then the next year. Okay, let's go into Saskatchewan. In Saskatchewan, you have to complete a registration form, which is your notice of intent, an education plan, and you have to keep progress reports and do an end of year report. The notice of intent or the registration form has to be completed by August 15. Your education plan has to include your reasons for homeschooling, your goals and plans and how you're going to teach the core subject, how are you going to evaluate and assess your kids' progress. This can be either through standardized testing or through a student portfolio that you would create. And number 4, you would have to include if you need any extra services from your school board. So that's the education plan. So throughout the year in Saskatchewan, you have to keep a record of work from the core subjects to show that you are meeting your goals. So the Saskatchewan Home-Based Educator website has a template on how to create this education plan and how to do the recording of the work and what to keep. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out in the description for that website and how to access the template. So in Saskatchewan, you can pull out your child to home educate anytime, even after August 15. And if you do pull out your child after August 15, all you have to do is give the school a 30-day notice, and then you complete the steps that I mentioned in this video, like creating an education plan, doing the record keeping. The next province is Manitoba. So in Manitoba, the homeschool laws apply starting from age 7 to age 18. Once you have a child in that age range, you have to first submit a notification letter to the Minister of Education by September 1st. Once your letter is received, you will be assigned a liaison officer who is available for any support or questions that you have on homeschooling. In January and June, you have to complete a progress report, and this is all done online. So in this progress report, you have to show proof on how you are meeting your education plans. So I'm not sure if you have to show actual work that your child did, or you just have to write down how they're meeting their goals, but you do have to show proof. If you need more information on this, check out the Manitoba Homeschooling website down in the description. So in Manitoba, you can pull out to homeschool your child anytime throughout the school year. If it's after September 1st, you still have to submit the notification letter 30 days before you start homeschooling. You can inform the school that you're going to be homeschooling, but this is not required. Okay, Ontario. So Ontario is the most populated province that we have, but it's also the most relaxed laws in the whole country. So families can withdraw to homeschool in Ontario anytime. And if your child has never been to school, you don't even have to let anybody know that you're homeschooling. You just start homeschooling and enjoy. So on the website, it says to homeschool, you can send a letter of intent to your local school board, but this is not required. Like, you don't even have to tell anybody. You just start homeschooling and enjoying life. This option of sending a letter of intent is just for families that want it for record keeping purposes. It is the easiest province because there is very minimal laws you have to follow to homeschool. So if you are getting any value from this video, all I ask is for you to click the thumbs up button below this video, because that will show the YouTube algorithm that this is a good video and show it to more Canadian homeschooling families. So if you can do that, I would really appreciate it. And also, please let me know which province or territory you are watching from. And let me know if you found any of the laws of any provinces interesting. I would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts. Let's go to Quebec. And Quebec is the most regulated province in the country. It has a lot of laws and rules that you have to follow to homeschool. Okay, so number 1, you can pull out to homeschool your child anytime in Quebec. So you have to follow a couple of steps to homeschool, to start homeschooling and to continue homeschooling. Number one, you have to send a letter of notification to Homeschool by July 1st, or 10 days after you pull your child out and decide to homeschool. Number two, you have to create a learning plan. You have to submit an overview of your learning plan by September 30th, or 30 days after you just pull your child out and decide to homeschool. Number three, you have to complete a midterm report. So this report is due midway in the year, between the 3rd to 5th month after you implement the learning plan. Number four, you have to complete an end of year report, and this is due by June 15. Number five, you have meetings throughout the year. On the website, it says you'll have the meeting sometime this year, and it says the DEM, which is the Minister of Education in Quebec, will contact you to schedule these meetings. And number six, you have to do a final evaluation. And there are mandatory exams that your child has to complete in grade 4 and grade 6 and in secondary. So I'm not sure what grade secondary means in Quebec. So if you have any questions about Quebec and you are in Quebec, make sure you check out the website I link in my description. It has way more specific, detailed information. Okay, New Brunswick. New Brunswick is the largest province that speaks French besides Quebec. So in New Brunswick, you need to submit a homeschooling application by September 27. And you can choose between having an English school board or a French school board. The thing that's different homeschooling in New Brunswick is that on the website, it says that a homeschool child will not be eligible for a high school diploma. So if you have a child that's high school age, just make sure you do more research on this, because it sounds like you have to go back to the school system in high school to get your high school diploma. In New Brunswick, you can take your child out of school and homeschool anytime in the year. You just have to fill out the homeschooling application form. There's no meetings or reporting or testing that needs to be done in New Brunswick. It's pretty simple to homeschool in New Brunswick as well. Okay, PEI, Prince Edward Island. In PEI, you have to submit an intent to homeschool to the Minister of Education. The unique thing about PEI is you can choose your own curriculums to homeschool with, or you can request to use the exact same curriculums and books that the public school system uses. If you do want to use the same books and curriculums as the public school system, all you have to do is pay a $50 deposit fee. And once you return the curriculum and books back at the end of the year and they are in good condition, you'll be refunded the $50. So in PEI, which is very similar to New Brunswick, it clearly states that your child will not get high school credits and get a high school diploma if they are homeschooled in the high school ages. The only way to get high school credit and a high school diploma is for your child to go back into the public school system and finish off their high school years in the public school system. Let's get into Nova Scotia. So you have to complete a homeschool education form by September 20th. You also have to submit an annual report in June that shows the progress of your child throughout the year. The Homeschooling in Nova Scotia blog, which I'll link down below, shows great examples on how to submit this annual report in June. If you pull out your child out of school to homeschool in Nova Scotia, all you have to do is fill out the home education form, and you are still required to submit an annual report by June. In Newfoundland, you have to submit an application form, and this application form includes a detailed report on your education plan for all the core subjects. The thing about Newfoundland is the curriculum that you choose has to be part of an approved list of curriculums, which is at the bottom of the application form. And if you are planning to use a curriculum that's not on that approved list, you have to get that curriculum approved first before you can start using it. Once you fill out your application form, that form is sent to a homeschool coordinator in your district. The coordinator will review your application, will review all the curriculums that you have chosen, and if the plan looks adequate, then they will approve it. Once your application has been approved, your coordinator will connect you to a local school which will follow your child's progress throughout the year. You also have to submit progress reports throughout the year. And how many progress reports you have to submit depends on how long you have been homeschooling. Let's get into the territories. Let's start with Yukon. So in Yukon, you can homeschool in English or French. If you want to homeschool in English, you have to sign up through a program called Aurora Virtual School by September 30th of every year. And if you want to homeschool in French, you must register through École Nomade by May 15th of every year. Once you have your child registered, you have to complete a home education plan for each subject and submit it no later than September 30th. In Yukon, you can pull your child out to homeschool anytime in the year. You just have to complete the requirements at that moment, which is either registering with the English school board or French school board and completing an education plan. Okay, let's get into the Northwest Territory. So the Northwest Territory and Nunavut are very similar in their laws. So in the Northwest Territories, you first have to register with a school and make a learning plan that covers the curriculum standards set by the Ministry of Education. You also work with the principal throughout the year to submit samples of your child's work for evaluation and assessment. In Nunavut, you also have to be registered with a school and approved by the DEA to start homeschooling. Once approved, you also have to create a learning plan that covers the curriculum standards set by the Minister of Education. You also work closely with the school principal for evaluation and assessment of your child. In Nunavut, you have to provide samples of your child's progression twice a year. The other thing about Nunavut that I read on their website is once you are approved, parents can be reimbursed up to a maximum of $1,000 per student per year to help with the cost of homeschool and homeschool resources. So if you are in Nunavut and you need more information about this reimbursement, make sure you check out the description where I link the website. So I reviewed all the laws and regulations of every province and territory of Canada. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And also make sure to check out the description for a lot more information on every provinces and their websites. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.